What is up, guys, and welcome to MLS Mastery with Privy. Benson, thank you so much for you and your team creating this Privy software. Dude, almost all my deals, like 90% of my deals come from Privy. That's on market, MLS, finding visually distressed properties. And you know what I love is I love the algorithm that makes me save so much time when searching for these properties.
I'm glad you're enjoying it. And actually, there's a real big difference between enjoying something and actually getting financial benefit from it. And that's what's so cool about Privy is that there's a bunch of really amazing technologies. ChatGPT saves time and copywriting and processes and SOPs and asking it questions, and it's all kind of cool, right? But is it making people money? Right? Yeah. There's a bunch of cool CRMs out there. We were talking about Go High Level earlier, which I love. It's good for optimization and systems and really building pipelines and funnels and all the marketing stuff, right? And a lot of the technology out there is just about efficiencies and saving time, which is money in the long run, right? But Privy can literally almost write you a check.
Yo, literally, I mean, I got 2 checks being written to me this month from Privy. I got one coming out tomorrow, actually, and then another one coming out on the 24th. Both of these deals I got from Privy. It's amazing. But not only that, also my buyers as well. I'm getting all my buyers from Privy. And what I love about the data from Privy, like, for example, on the buyer side, it's proven, pre-vetted buyers. Like, the tax records don't lie, right? This information is legit. You get to see how much they purchased it for, how much they sold it for, who it was. Like, it's not like Facebook buyers where you don't know for sure if they're actually a buyer or not. They could just be a wholesaler pretending to be a buyer and wasting your time. So I love the buyer data. It's so high quality.
It is. And part of the challenge with buyers is connecting with them, right? Building enough rapport and trust to where they will actually share their buying criteria with you. And that could be a long process and very time consuming. But with the data, you already have a sense of what their buy box is because you're looking at a property that they just closed that matches their buy box, their buying criteria. So you're privy to information that you probably shouldn't have unless you're like a CIA agent or the NSA or some other 3-digit government agency, right? That's spying on you. But you have information that will bridge the gap between a cold call to one of these buyers and turn it into a warm or lukewarm call to where they're more apt to talk to you and share information because you already know some stuff. So they're like, oh, this person knows some things about me already. They know, about the house. They're congratulating me. They're telling me they like the way it looks. And, my ego likes all of that. And I like to be around people who stroke my ego, but also sound like they know what they're talking about and have done a little bit of work. So that conversation goes way better when you leverage the data to arm yourself with information that's going to make that conversation better.
I love that. And actually, while you were saying that, I was just pulling up some of that data. So I just pulled a list from Privy there really, really quickly while you were saying that. And I just want to highlight how much information we get. So I just pulled a list of buyers, 440 something buyers. This was the Tampa area. So all the fix and flips in the Tampa area within the past, I believe it's 12 months. 12 months. And here is our raw data. So we get to see exactly, right? They're purchasing in this zip code, price point around this, square footage around that. We can even know price per square foot, lot size, what kind of bed bath count they're purchasing, if there's a basement or not. In Florida, there's not really basements. But let's say you're in another market where there is basements, you'll get to know what year built they're building. That's a big one because a lot of people in Florida, they're skeptical about buying anything older than 1950 because most of the time, if it's older than 1950, it's wood frame. And a 75-year-old wood frame property is a big insurance problem. So it's super cool. And then you got the contact information, and you can just easily skip trace them with this contact information and reach out to them.
Oh yeah, that's so cool. That's really amazing. And then, so you have the contact information here. You can skip trace it. You can do them on a one-off basis using something like True People Search, which, we're experts at now. And it's just like a really amazing free skip tracing service that you can use to find contact information if you're operating on a budget. But you can use, lots of other services out there that will skip trace on scale. So you don't have to do it, but it's a worthy exercise, isn't it, to do them on a one-off basis?
Yeah, like right now I'm getting my VA to do it. I know you mentioned that there was another one that I could use, but I just haven't changed the SOP yet. What was that one that you mentioned?
It was bestskiptracer.com.
Bestskiptracer.com. Yeah, I still gotta upload a list and do it, because having my VA do it one by one, it's a little bit inefficient. I mean, it's nice because you get to be confident that it's wireless or not wireless, but it's also really, really hard to scale. So I prefer a bigger list skip tracer.
Oh yeah. But even if it's a VA, right? Like, with a VA doing it, you're still paying them by the hour.
Yep.
And I don't know how many you get new every day, because I feel like it's like the first couple times in a new market, you're going to have the largest list. But after that, it's just maintaining the new ones, right? So it's a lot easier to do on a one-off basis when you get into maintenance mode. I just put that link in the chat there.
Awesome. Let me pop that up on the screen. I'm just going to add my followers, get them on the live stream. Guys, if you love this, let's hit that share button. Let's hit that share button. Tag a friend that you want to come watch this. As a matter of fact, I'm actually happy to pull people little mini lists of buyers data off of Privy. So if you want to drop your market, like Reggie, I know you're in here. I know Reggie does Florida, Jacksonville, Florida specifically. So Reggie, if you want a little mini list in Jacksonville, just let me know. I'm happy to pull that for you. I would actually love to show you guys how I pull my list of buyers there, because I went a little bit quick on that. So let's just start off at the beginning.
Let's do it.
So what I do, and this is so simple. So guys, if you blink, you will probably miss this. Right here, there's this button that says fix and flip. If you click that fix and flip button, what that's going to do is that's going to show you the properties that are fixed and flipped, right? So those are your buyers. And now you got to pick your market. So for example, Reggie is in Jacksonville. So Jacksonville, Florida. Cool. And that's a lot of data right there. 1,233 records. I think that's a bit of an overwhelming amount of data to give Reggie. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull him the most recent data. So I'm going to click on this little filters button right up here at the top, the filter button. And I'm going to switch it to, let's see what the past 6 months has to offer. 593. I'm going to bring that down just a little bit more. Let's do date range, and let's go the past 2 months. Okay, 204. That's a nice, easy, manageable list. Download button. And boom, just like that, we have your list. So give me 1 second. I'm just going to upload it to Google Drive.
And for those that are curious, you have 10,000 downloads per month on your Privy account. So he only just barely went into that 10,000. But also too, just know it is, they don't, what is it called? They don't roll over into the next month. So if you don't use all 10,000, it resets the next month. But for 99% of the people out there, that's going to be just fine.
Yeah. I love it. And, let's say you're a little bit strapped on money and, you're like, oh, it's hard to justify the expense. Maybe if you have a little bit of those skips left for the month, maybe share them with your friends, right? Maybe say, hey, can you chip in, help me pay for my subscription, and I'm going to share the last little bit with you.
Yep. Now, these are fix and flipper buyers, which are great, right? Because you're going to get more volume likely from fix and flippers than you would the other kind of buyers, the most prominent one, which is landlords, right? They could be buying as well, but they typically don't do the volume that a fix and flipper will. A fix and flipper could do, 10 deals a year. I mean, that's maybe like even in the higher percentile of operators, but a landlord might only buy 2 or 3 properties a year, and that's if they're well funded, right? Because they have to come up with 20% typically to put down on a rental property, and that liquidity isn't always there for a lot of people. So, but landlords is another one that you should definitely consider talking to, as opposed to just fix and flippers.
Benson, can you show us how we pull landlord buyers? I think that's a very valuable thing for us to know.
Yeah, if you go into Privy,
Okay.
and just in that search that you did in Jacksonville, just go up and edit the filter, and you're going to uncheck fix and flip.
Okay.
The status is debatable, but we'll leave it on sold for now. And then you're going to scroll down, and you're going to go to.
I'm gonna switch it to the past 12 months just so we have a good amount as well.
Okay. And then click absentee owner. It's the one in the upper left-hand corner.
Well, we got a lot.
A lot.
Okay, absentee owner. And anything else? Should I?
There's a lot of different strategies here, right? So you can filter it however you want. So when you're clicking sold, that means that there was a closing basically in the last 12 months. So anybody that's on this list purchased a rental property in the last 12 months. Okay. And it may have been 12 months ago they bought their last one. Another interesting one is active. So switch to active, uncheck sold. And this is a landlord who has a rental property for sale currently. So think about the different angles here, right? They're selling a property maybe to get more liquidity so they can buy another one. This means they're currently active. That's an interesting angle. Now, the other thing is that what's cool about landlords is they're both buyers and sellers. So if you're looking for a property lead, then you can contact these and you have 2 angles with them if you can get them on the phone. So if you call a landlord buyer and you're like, hey, listen, I saw you just bought this property last week. Right, congratulations. Pretty cool. Are you buying any more? What's your buying criteria? And they may say, you know what? I'm kind of tapped out right now. I'll probably be buying toward the end of the year. Then the next question is, okay, cool. Well, are you selling anything? I saw that you got a house on the market. Or do you have any other properties that you want to sell? Maybe we can save you some real estate commissions, right? So buyers are great because there's 2 really good angles with them.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that we can really juice this list right here. I want to take a look at the kind of properties that we're calling on. 1 second here. Go map. And actually, as well, if you guys want, I can pull this list for you guys also so that you guys can have some data. I got a bunch of skips available for the month, so I'm happy to just throw some here in the side chat. Let me throw this in the side chat for you guys.
By the way, you guys, if you don't have Privy yet, you should definitely try it. Like, we're just showing the tip of the iceberg here. There's a huge amount of value beneath the ocean that we're not even showing you. So just text try Privy to 813-437-1709, and you'll get an amazing 30% discount code. And that applies to the annual plan too. So I'm sure most of you are committed to making this work because you're up at the crack of dawn with Crazy Nathan here watching his content. So if you're following Nathan, I know you're committed. So, you might as well get that huge discount, save that $750 or whatever it is, and then you can use that for something else in your business.
I totally agree. It's such a good discount. And if you guys are wondering, like, how am I going to get an ROI on this? Like, the proof is in the pudding. You guys see me every single day doing my How to Wholesale Real Estate virtually show, doing these other more unique shows like this one with Benson, where we're actually applying these skills. So I have 2 closings coming up this month. One is tomorrow. I don't remember exactly how much we're making, definitely over $5,000. I have another one coming up on the 24th. I think the other one is closer to $9,000 that we're making. So you are going to get an ROI on this as long as you're applying yourself. As long as you're calling the data, you are going to get an ROI. It's so worth it. It saves me so much time. What I would really love to show is how fast I can find a property to offer on, because I know a lot of people they try to do it the free way. And this is something that I'm really passionate about, Benson. A lot of people come to me and they're like, I don't have any money. I'm trying to get started. So I'm doing things the free way. I'm not paying for any softwares. I'm using my cell phone. And I say to them, how much do you value your time? Right? Like, how much is your time worth? If you were to go out in the marketplace and, take an hourly job, how much would you expect to get paid? Usually they'll say like $20, $25 an hour. It's like, okay, well, let's count how many hours you're wasting doing it the free way. Yeah. So I'm going to show you guys here, and I'm going to do a demo afterwards, but I'm going to show you guys just exactly how quick I can track down a deal on Privy. Benson, do you have your phone with you? Do you want to pull out a timer?
Yeah. Let me do this for us right now.
Okay. Give me the countdown when you're ready.
Go.
Okay. So I'm going to search up Miami because
you're on the clock.
I like Miami. How do you spell Miami? Miami. There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to click fix and flip. And then I'm going to click find active similar deals. And because it's Miami, oh, look at that. There's already a deal right there. Okay, stop the timer. So okay. Just like that. What time are we at?
I actually went over a little bit. So I'd probably say 27 seconds.
27 seconds. Look at that. In 30 seconds, we already found something to offer on. Like if you're trying to do this with the free softwares, if you're trying to do this with like Redfin, Zillow, Realtor.com, this is going to take you a lot longer. It's going to be a lot more challenging to find these properties. And you can even curate yourself a list. So you can click on these 3 little dots in the top right, click add to list, and you can make a nice big list for you to go down and call.
Amazing. So why is this one worth offering on?
Well, yeah, a couple of good things. So initial picture, it's blurry and not that well. So signs are it's going to be distressed on the inside. And then you can already see here that ledge is banged up. Older flooring, dirty baseboard, says neglect. These countertops are really old. There's a lot of opportunity for added value in this property. Those windows, I can already see that like the trim is messed up on the windows. So maybe that could be some water intrusion or something else. Another thing here is like, you can tell, I know it's really small things. I kind of have an eye for them. But you can tell that like these plates are probably painted over, which says like, somebody wasn't doing it properly. Why is that one like perfectly white and blended? Why is that one like perfectly yellow and blended? You just look at it.
Washer and dryer outside.
Yeah. And the tattered lawn and, not that great of curb appeal. House could use some painting on the outside. I believe that's called the fascia board right there. Let me make that picture bigger. This right here. That looks a little bit gross. Overall, just lots of opportunity for added value. And let's take a look at the description. Great location between downtown Miami and the airport, tons of shopping, yada, yada, yada. Here is an opportunity to customize this home and create the kitchen and bath you've been dreaming about. Bring all your design ideas to this blank slate and create a floor plan that works for you. So essentially what the agent is saying there is, you should probably cut this property and redo it.
Yeah, it's definitely a value add. And, a lot of people out there try to find properties using keywords like TLC, fix and flip, handyman special, right? Those are the kind of some of the keywords that some people use. But when you use a keyword search, or even if an agent does for you, you're left up to what the listing agent put in the description. So if they
Mm-hmm.
use keywords that on a property that needs work, then you might find it. But if they don't use keywords, then you're going to miss it completely. So really the best way to find a viable property for wholesale is to use the comps. Now, unfortunately, unfortunately, but just the reality is that there aren't other platforms out there. You're not going to find the ability to do this in the MLS as an agent, or if you are using a software or a website like Zillow, there's no algorithm that is comparing the price of the subject to the price of the comps. And so that automated thing is what's going to save you a bunch of time. And that's really where a lot of the value comes, I think, in Privy too, is that like we've got our lives are going, right? And if you're not doing this full time, you really need to be very, very intentional about how you spend your time. And sometimes we get caught up in the minutia of just doing all the administrative work, and it's easy to distract ourselves from writing offers by just constantly just doing the mundane stuff. But with this, right away, 30 seconds, Nathan's got something that he can run an offer on.
Yeah, totally. And I have some quick comps here as well, so I can quickly gauge whether it's priced too high or priced at a more realistic price point. This one here, it is in between major roads. So I would, if I'm going to comp this, I would probably start by isolating the area. And this is all within the same page, right? This is all on the listing page. So I would isolate the area because I don't want to cross major roads. I'm going to open it up a little bit just to see what all my options are. And it's super easy. You can just click these to make them ascend or descend. So since this property is 1940, obviously a 2023 is not really a fair comparison. So we're going to get rid of the 2023, the 2019, 1961. And when you get into those really, really old ages, you can be a little bit flexible, but I think 1961 is still too much. 1952 to 1940, I think that's okay to leave it. Lot size, Miami is a bit interesting with the lot size. This one is a 10,000. I think that's too excessive. And then square footage of the building, we have an 1132 square foot. So I'm just going to click this little ascending, descending thing, and I'm going to get rid of anything that's way too big. Okay.
Now, to be clear, I want to point out something real quickly. The reason why Nathan's got some of these properties that just don't match is because you didn't have enough like one-to-one matches of true comparables right out of the gate. So he clicked the button in settings that says all, which essentially removes the comping algorithm. And now he's basically getting more liberal with his comp criteria. I mean, like, okay, we need to bring in some more data here that we can use. So he's kind of just doing this manually and not using the comping algorithm because there just wasn't enough in that little niche. And there's weird neighborhoods like this all over Florida, Nathan, where it says, it's major roads.
Yeah.
But sometimes I will just point out, like Grenada, I believe the Grenada, that neighborhood is both on the north and south side of that Tomiel Trail Road because it's such a small little niche, right? And it isn't realistic necessarily to use comparables just in that one little area. Just think how few sales are there, let alone fix and flip comparables, right? So I bet you an appraiser would use comps from both sides of that road.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know for a fact. That's just my feeling because it's such a small little thing that to get real true sales comps there, it would be difficult, even if you're not looking at after repair value.
Yeah, I agree. And, Miami is really interesting for finding comparables. It's kind of a pain in the butt because some properties are like a complete hack job in Miami where, they got like ADUs in the backyard and, some really small properties and some ridiculously big properties, and just so much variety that it's a little bit challenging, even manually finding comparables in Miami. It's a little bit challenging because everything is very unique. And a lot of the properties in Miami are very old. I mean, the city's been around for a while. You got a lot of old stuff with a lot of new stuff as well in the neighborhoods.
Oh yeah. And with the new stuff too, that's actually good to know, right? Because right away, most people think, okay, I can't use a 2023 comp. Right. If you're seeing a lot of new comparables, then yeah, you can't use those if you're purely looking at that property as a fix and flip. But the highest and best use of that property might be to just tear it down and build a new one.
Absolutely.
And so if you're in a neighborhood where there's new construction and there's a high enough price, it might make sense to tear down a $500,000 house and just build a brand new one than it is to go and actually fix and flip it. But that's why you want to look at those newer comps too, because it gives you an indicator that a tear down might be the best solution.
I totally agree with you. Yeah. So I mean, guys, it's that easy to find a deal, comp a deal. It's so quick. I feel like we can give the entire demo in 30 minutes because it's just so quick and so efficient. And then we can do it again afterwards for anybody that came in late.
Yeah. I mean, and that's just like the main use case, right? Like you showed, one of the most important things early on, which was building a buyer's list, which I think is, one of the most important things, because you don't have a deal if you don't have a disposition plan. All right. So disposition is probably one of the key things that you want to be doing. The other thing, Nathan, and I think I showed you this before, is I launched my product Omni Marketplace.
Yeah, please. You want to take over?
Not today, but I want to just give everyone the link so you guys can check this out. So Omni Marketplace is an off-market marketplace for people who are trying to build your buyer's list. And so, yes, relationships are important, and you want to be able to talk to your buyers and really get to know them and trust them. And most importantly, you want them to know you, so that when you send out a property that you get, they're like, oh, this is Nathan. I know he knows how to comp. I know he knows his stuff. When he sends out a property, it's worth looking at because it's probably viable, right? And they get to know that by talking to Nathan and seeing the product that he puts together. But if you don't know them, it's a little bit more difficult. So building a buyer list is a challenge. It's something you're constantly always doing, but you should also have multiple channels of distribution. So Omni Marketplace is a place where you can go. It would be similar to if you guys thought about Investor Lift, but this is 100% free. So there's no charge to get set up on this service. And I'm going to put it in the chat here. I don't know why I can't see the chat. Oh, there we go. And that's the way that
thing to give everybody, because there's so many people struggling with Investor Lift having that paywall. So I'm grateful that we have opportunities like this where it's a free version without the incredibly high barriers to be able to just participate.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And the way that the money flows, just so like you understand, like how do we make money, is the buyer pays us a fee. It's $1,000 fee on the back end. So the wholesaler, what you do is you basically build your assignment fee into the price. That price goes out to all the buyers. And right now we've got thousands of buyers. We're fairly new. And so it's still growing. We're getting more buyers, we're getting more deal flow. But there's lots of other cool services tied into this, which will help you do your business virtually. Anyway, so there's transaction coordination, nationwide title companies, there's hard money lenders, there's private money lenders. There's a bunch of really cool stuff built right into that. So go to the link I just sent you. It's also omnimarketplace.net. This is just a page that explains more about it, and it's 100% free.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Benson.
You're welcome.
We gotta get your screen share working. That way next time we can have a full demo of Omni as well.
Oh yeah, I want to do a full training on it. We'll get into the weeds with that too, to show people how to, we'll take a property, like an actual property that's under contract, and we'll put it up on there and show how it works. And we're actually also negotiating with hedge funds for them to be on the platform. So big institutional buyers that have deep pockets and are highly motivated to buy properties are also going to be here, not just with your typical fix and flipper or landlord cash buyers, but also institutional buyers that have a lot of cash. And hedge fund buyers are getting a lot more involved. Again, they did back off there for a couple years. They're getting back in the game, and they will pay a much higher percentage of after repair value than anybody else will, because they've got the ability to wait it out. So they're not getting, like, they don't have to get stuff at 60, 70. When they were buying, they were paying 100% of the ARV in many markets. Now they're not going for that high right now because some of them got burned, but it wouldn't be uncommon to see a hedge fund who's buying stuff over 90%.
Wow. Holy moly. That's a lot of opportunity there. And of course, who's a better person than Benson to create a marketplace like this? Benson, you got all the data, you got access to all the buyers, all the people with the deals. Like, you're a perfect matchmaker.
Well, it just makes sense, right? Like, that's what I think a lot of, what I emulate from business owners is integration. Or like, where can you make additional revenue? Where can you make more money in the ecosystem that you're already part of? Right. So I remember many years back when I was just getting started in the business, I first became a mortgage broker. And then I saw all the money that my real estate agent partners were making. I'm like, well, why shouldn't I just get licensed? So I went and got licensed as an agent. And then I got to be the lender on the deals that I was finding for my clients. Right. And then I had another friend who started a title company. Right. And so, like, there's all these ways to vertically integrate into the business that you're doing. And you're doing a lot of the same thing too, right? Like, you're an operator, right? You're doing deals yourself. And you're like, well, how can I help people? Right? How can I create additional revenue? And you're doing a lot of cool things with training. And now you're an advocate of Privy, and you're doing a lot of cool stuff too. So just for those business people out there, those entrepreneurs who are looking for what more ways of making money, just look at what's around you. Who are the people that you're interacting with? Agents, landlords, fix and flippers. There's service providers like title companies, transaction coordination, being able to be a PML, private money lender, and helping people with transactional funding. Our Pace Morby, one of our friends, he created this really amazing product called the Gator program, where they, within their own ecosystem, realized that people needed money to make deals happen. So they're like, oh, we create a whole new persona of someone who can lend money to people in the community. Like, it just makes perfect sense.
Pace is the perfect example of, like, creating additional streams from, like, one bucket. So he's got, like, the top tier TCs. He's got the Gators. He's got the sub 2 people. He's got cash buyers. Like, he's now got even the lending as well, where, like, he's lending on people's deals. It's amazing how he's figured out so many ways to monetize and add value all from one source.
Oh yeah, it's a great lesson to learn out there, and it makes sense. So you don't have to go out there and recreate. Like, sometimes when I hear people say, like, oh yeah, I've got 10 businesses, and then you're like, well, what are your businesses? Like, oh, I've got a car wash, I'm a wholesaler, I'm also selling Amway, and I do Forex or whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, wait, none of those are related. Like, you're going to be all over the place. But if you were looking for revenue streams that's kind of in the same ecosystem, you're not as spread thin, because what you're doing for one business helps all of them.
Absolutely. I love that. So much opportunity out there, Benson. So much.
Oh, 100%. So we got some people here in the chat. Like, what do you guys need help with?
Oh yeah, great question.
You guys need help comping a property?
I see this from Danny a little bit ago. As best practice, should we pull lists monthly or quarterly? And I know this came out around the time that we were talking about the buyer's list. So for example, with myself, I try to keep up every single month, right? Sometimes I fall a little bit behind, but I try to blast the data for the last month, because I notice if you give it more than a month, my answer rate starts to decline. It doesn't mean that you can't blast them. I'd still recommend blast them if you'd like to. But if you want to get the highest answer rate, I would say blast them within a month of them selling their fix and flip. So just for anybody that came on a little bit late, if you're pulling cash buyer data off of Privy, and you can either go like last 12 months, all time, or whatever. I try to blast the last month. I try to keep up with it, because keep in mind, imagine you're the fix and flipper, right? You just sold your property. Now you need another property because you have to most likely 1031, which is move your money into another investment before you have to pay taxes on it. So they're in a rush to get a property. So if you reach out to them and say, hi, I'm a wholesaler, I have deals, what's your buy box? And they just sold a property and they have this like looming deadline of, I got to buy another property before the government wants me to pay a bunch of taxes, that's the perfect time, and they're going to answer. But if you reach out to them 6 months after they sold their property, the motivation is not as high. Doesn't mean they don't want properties, but they're less likely to respond. So blast the last month of data if possible. But if you just need data, go as far back as you want. But if you want to get the highest response rate, last month is the best.
Yeah, I have another bit of advice there too. I actually have a virtual assistant that I have helping me with my business and different things, not just the real estate side. But what I did is I set her up on a drip. So I saved my sold search for the fix and flippers. I saved it, and now I get an update every day on every time a new property is flipped. And so we're actually looking daily. We're reaching out to people daily. So as soon as a property closes, we get an email alert to notify us that that property was fixed and flipped and sold. And then my VA starts a process of sending them first skip tracing them, sending them an email, and asking them if they want to have a conversation. So that's happening for us daily. So talk about timeliness, right?
Yeah.
And catching them when it's hot. That's another way to do it. It's just using the automation that's built right into Privy.
Wow, that's you're definitely getting ahead of everybody else. I love that.
Yeah, it just helps. And it's a speed to lead thing too, right? Because it's speed to lead with properties, but it's also speed to lead with buyers too.
I agree. Alex says, can you guys help me with a comp, please? Depending on where it is, if it's in Florida, I'm really good at comping in Florida. If it's outside of Florida, in my opinion, I would recommend reaching out to somebody that specializes in those markets. And the reason why is because there's a lot of variables in different markets. I know Florida like the back of my hand. So if it's in Florida, I got you. If it's outside of Florida, just tell me where it is, and I'll recommend somebody for you to reach out to that will most likely be able to help you.
Or Nathan, we could actually just put it right into Privy and just see what comes up.
Yeah, you want to?
Like okay. I think that's one of the powerful things about it is it doesn't matter where you're located. You can comp any property out with Privy. You just type the address right into that search bar.
Okay.
So, Alex, what's the address?
Oh, I have to unrestrict those sheets. Let me make that available to everybody.
Thanks, Harvey.
Yeah. That's a bit of a tease, Harvey. I'm glad you mentioned that. Let me make sure it's available for everybody to view. Anyone with the link? Done.
Well, Alex just put the address in there. That is a heck of a street name. Stopelworth.
Oh my goodness.
It's spelled crazy.
11320 STOE. There we go. Okay, 149. I do these so fast. I like flick through the photos rapid fire. So I can tell that this is going to be like a down to the drywall kind of remodel. Kitchen is going to go, all that crown molding would go. I would lay LVP over those floors throughout the entire property. It looks almost is that soot? Like almost as if like there was like smoking inside the property or maybe a small fire. Want to take a quick skim of the description, see if it says anything about that. Okay. So I would assume just thick paint could get over that because it doesn't.
Yeah, kills.
Oh, this chandelier as well. Sometimes those chandeliers make it look like soot, but still, definitely thick paint. Scrape popcorn off the ceilings. It's very subtle, but as you can see here, it's textured ceilings. I would scrape that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now time to comp. Ugh, yikes. Not a whole lot of activity in this neighborhood. We have some quick comps. Just to give us a gauge of what the neighborhood is like. That's older. This one here has 2 stories. I don't know. That one's a little bit nicer. I'm just going to quickly look at everything just to get an idea of what our neighborhood's like. Okay, this one is a much nicer property. I think this one's a better thing to compare to. So this is a 3-2. Our subject is a 3-3. This one is 1369. Our subject is 1588. Our subject is built in 1969. This is built in 1971. Now, I want to see what our subject is built out of, because as you can see here, this comparable is brick-faced. So our property is vinyl siding, I believe. Yeah, vinyl siding. So I just want to see what's underneath that vinyl siding. So I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. I'm going to click on Assessor's Records. And it says construction type masonry. So perhaps there's masonry underneath that vinyl siding, but that definitely makes me more comfortable because this here is masonry.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a good comp, this 199, because it's nicer.
Yeah, it's updated. It's representative of after repair value. We don't see anything that was like really like full on fix and flipped recently, but it makes me believe that if something was full on fix and flipped, it'd be, maybe 225, but you don't have the data for that. So this is going to be your best bet for an example of after repair value. So that's what I would base my offer on.
Mm-hmm. This is interesting as well, Benson. Alex says, I spoke with the agent and she said, based on the seller, it needs between 25 to 30,000 in repairs. Just as a heads up, Alex, like the agents and the sellers are always going to severely underestimate. 90% of the time, they're severely underestimating. I think this needs far more than that in repairs. It's a 1,500 square foot property. It needs all new flooring. All that trim needs to be removed. The ceilings need to be scraped. All the light fixtures need to be replaced. These windows here, let's see if we can get, my spidey senses are saying probably the windows too. I don't know 100%, but given the distress of the rest of the property, probably the windows as well. Paint throughout. Kitchens, I don't think, where's our bathroom? Kitchens, bathrooms, everything. So in the Florida market, and maybe Indianapolis is a little bit cheaper, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's not by much. So in the Florida market for something like this, I would do like $45 a square foot times 1588, $71,000. So I think they're severely underestimating the renovation cost.
I will say that the agent may not have been necessarily misleading them, because you could repair this property to living standards with 25 to 30K.
Yes, you are.
But right. It wouldn't be a fix and flip, right? So those are two different things. Like, she's just saying, yeah, you put 25 to 30 in it, you can move right in and it'd be great, right? Maybe you just redo the flooring and fix a few things. But if it's going to be a full on fix and flip, then Nathan is absolutely right. It's going to be $40 to $50 a square foot.
Like if you wanted to look like this.
Now you're in the 70 grand range.
Mm-hmm. One tip is, look at your comp. What does your comp look like? Are they using the higher end stuff? Are they using lower end stuff? I mean, this right here, they're using higher end stuff. Those cabinets, those cabinets are expensive. They have a really nice, I believe that's stone. It could be a rip. No, that's got to be stone because you see the way that it goes around the sink. These things are really
that's
small,
granite.
and yeah, you can tell that's granite. So a slab like that, expensive, right? They put a nice backsplash in there. They tiled the kitchen with nice luxury tiles. I mean, they did that entire vanity wall. That's a decent chunk of change to do something like that. They could have at least cleaned the mirror better. That probably would have helped them sell. Well, even things like this as well, Benson. Like you see that glass shower door. Like I know that those things are expensive, right? They're expensive. They're a pain in the butt to install. So you need to make sure you have professional trades to put them in. The flooring here, I mean, look at the flooring. Either they restored the original flooring, which it kind of looks like, or they put some. Yeah, most likely they restored the original flooring because there's like little gaps over there from shrinkage. But they definitely spent a good amount of money on it. So yeah, you could spend $25,000 to $30,000 to make it livable. But if you want to flip it, you got to make it nice. Otherwise, you're not going to sell that high.
Yep. So let's say it was supposed to be a flip, right? Anybody who's going to buy that on the back end, let's say they're going to flip it. What would you offer on this house?
If it was going to be a flip,
200K is the ARV.
Yeah, so I would go. Let me pull up my calculator. So I would go 200,000 times 0.92 brings us down to 184 minus $70,000 in renovations brings us down to 114. And then for something of a purchase price like that, I would just say $40,000 flipper's profit. I would offer $74,000. Yeah.
Well, so 74,000 just to get the percentage of ARV right.
And I went
so basically offering a 37% of ARV.
Yeah, so I went kind of fast on that math. I'll break down the math one more time. So my justification is 200,000 ARV times 0.92, which budgets for 8% sales costs. So that would be like paying realtors, closing costs, etc. Equals $184,000. Now, I believe renovations are closer to $70,000. So I'm going to minus 70,000, which brings us down to 114,000. And now flippers, at least my flippers, they want to make like about $40,000 profit on a deal. So I go minus 40,000, bringing us to 74,000. And I know it's like really deep. But I also feel like given that there's not a whole bunch of activity in that area, we kind of have to go deep because it's not like a super competitive area where people are fighting each other for the deal.
Yep. Yeah, the more investor activity in an area, then you don't have to go on as deep on the price. Because if there was a lot of fix and flips happening here, you probably would see prices much higher than the 200 range.
Yeah, like I'm gonna eliminate anything that isn't clearly a flip. Just check this one. Yep, that's not a flip. And you'll see that we're very, very limited on comps. This is not a flip.
Yeah, and this is why it's so important to choose those areas that have a lot of investor activity. Like, I'm not sure, Alex, if this is something that somebody sent you or if this was an area you're farming and this one just didn't happen to have good fix and flip comps. Maybe there's others, but Indianapolis in general has some decent investor activity. I don't know what neighborhood this is, but just on the east side of downtown Indy, there's some pockets, and that actually, I think that's one of the areas that has decent investor activity. So sometimes you just won't have good comps because you have a unique home.
Mm-hmm.
But this one is starting to get a little further away from downtown. I think the majority of that activity is in the Beltway there on the west side of 465.
This is like just on the outskirt. Like you almost have a forest as your backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was pretty fun. And Benson, you know what I love about that is going into it, I was a little bit uncomfortable. Like, oh no, I'm going to have to comp in a market that's not mine. But that actually wasn't bad. Like that was pretty easy.
Yeah, the data does it for you, really. Like, there are things about local markets that are helpful that you want to know. Like sometimes there's roads that aren't yellow on the map that we wouldn't consider major, but an agent or a very experienced investor in that market would be like, no, you don't ever go south of 23rd, right? Because they just know that there's cutoffs there. So it might not be that we got this 2-lane highway that is yellow because Google ranked it as a big road because of the traffic. It might be that just people on the ground know, and that's what you're talking about. Like, those neighborhoods, the areas you shouldn't cross. That there's a lot of waterfront in Florida, so you don't want to use comps that are on the water if your property isn't on the water. And so those are things you've learned by doing business there. And that's why boots on the ground is helpful. So if you are doing stuff in another market, like find somebody on the ground there that you can work with. Maybe it's another wholesaler you can JV with. Maybe it's an agent who you work with who is willing to do some extra work for you. Maybe go walk the property for you, take additional photos, maybe some video. I have an agent in St. Louis who helps me named Nika, and she's amazing. Like she walks properties for me. We created a Google Drive where she uploads all the photos for properties I'm looking at for me. And then she'll give me additional feedback after I comp a property out and I'm getting ready to offer. And I'll be like, here's what I think the property's worth. Am I wrong? And she'll be like, oh no, that's good. You're good to go. Let's offer asking price. Or she might say, you know what? No, it looks like the comps that you are using are on the other side of this road. And typically those are in a different neighborhood. So we're not going to use those comps. So what I would offer is this amount. Right. And so she helps me to make sure that I'm getting it right. And I don't have to be there. Right. You don't have to be your own boots on the ground to do this business. So with a combination of what you get in Privy and the data and the sales comparables and the ability to see, after repair value from that investor activity, and then boots on the ground, maybe an agent or a JV partner, you can certainly get that valuation right.
I love that. Yeah. There's a lot of hidden things about different markets. Like I think the DMV area where Jacob is, I believe he's constantly talking about basements either counting or not counting in the square footage. And, there's a certain renovation level that they need to be at to count in the square footage. So each market does kind of have their quirks. But I was pretty fascinated by how easy that was, Benson. I thought that was going to be hard, but that was so easy to comp in a random market.
Yeah. And it's kind of fun too, right? Like, I don't know. There's a lot of things, a lot of business stuff out there that is just not fun.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But with Privy, it's almost like you're playing a video game.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
People like get in and they love to put their headset on and go play, a first person shooter, and they get lost in it.
Mm-hmm.
I have lots of people who use Privy who are like, that's how they view Privy. They get in it and they're just in it all day, playing around, finding deals, analyzing, and it's fun.
Yeah, it is. I feel like this whole wholesaling business is like a video game. Almost life is like a video game, Benson. We really are player number one. We're not an NPC. We're not a non-playable character. We're not just add effect to the world around us. We affect the world around us. We get to choose, where we go in life. We get to choose what we do in business. Maybe we try something and we mess up, and then we try again and we succeed. Maybe we try something and we're like, oh, I don't really like this, and we can go do something else in the video game. It's almost like playing Minecraft in creative mode or GTA 5 in, the open world mode where you get to just do what you want. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and there's basically no rules. And in the wholesale world, there's very little consequences, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, there's some responsibility to doing things right. Like, you don't want to lock up properties just for the sake of locking them up and having contracts. Like, you want to make sure they're viable, right? Like that property you just ran your analysis on, someone else might have offered $130,000 on it and then got it under contract and then realized no buyer's going to take it from you because there's not enough profit in there for it to make sense for them. So that was irresponsible, right? So yeah, you do want to, there's not as many consequences in this world because there's not as much of skin in the game And if you make a mistake, it's not costing you a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, worst case scenario, you just wasted time, right? Don't let your EMD go hard, and there's like no risk. You just worst case scenario, you just wasted a little bit of time, and we all got plenty of time remaining.
Yep, but it is our most valuable commodity. So be smart about what you spend your time on.
Absolutely. Wow, such a dude, this software is awesome. I love it so much. Guys, if you haven't already gotten Privy, like, please do yourself the favor. Save your time. Your time is valuable, right? Look how fast we found deals. We found a deal in 27 seconds. We found an opportunity to offer on. We underwrote a property in a random market, right? Like, it was so easy. We pulled, I think we pulled over 1,000 buyers just casually. So it's so worth it. It's so worth your time. And Benson, isn't there like a really big discount code? Can you help me understand like how big is that discount code? How does that work?
Yeah, so I think with the process you set up here, when you text try Privy to 813-437-1709, it's going to send them back a link and a promo code.
Yeah, it will.
Cool. And do you know what your promo code is? I don't know yours off the top of my head.
The promo code is Nathan Harris. And I would recommend, even though you guys can just use my promo code, I would recommend texting Try Privy, because then in my CRM, I can tag you and I can send you some resources as well, like a little Privy mini course that I have. So I created a little mini course of how to find deals, how to find buyers, how to comp deals. And that's a really, really big value add. So if you text Try Privy to 813-437-1709, not only do you get that promo code, but you also get an additional benefit.
Oh yeah. Brandon just put in the chat, Privy makes me so smart to other people.
I love that. I love that, bro. Get Privy.
It's a great way of looking at it, right? Like, just by looking at the data there, like, it elevates you, right? You're way more intelligent about the market. You can understand values better. You can really kind of see behind the curtain and what's happening with the players in the market. Who are the buyers? Who are the fix and flippers, landlords? Who are the agents that are doing deals? And you're right, Brandon. It does make you so smart. And even though like it's really simple, we don't have to tell people that. Like if they think, oh my God, like you're such a hard worker, you're doing all this work and you're getting all these deals, and you're like, yeah, I am, but I'm leveraging software, data, automation, technology. I'm optimizing everything, all the stuff that we just did. If you guys hadn't seen us, do it live, you probably would think it would take us hours to do all of the stuff that we just did in this short time period, but we didn't. We just leveraged the software and we used it the way it was designed to be used.
And you know what I love, Benson, is this software is so fast and so easy. Sometimes I'm on the phone with an agent and they're like feeding me a bunch of BS, telling me that, properties are selling for this in the area, and, I should know better. And I just like quickly go to the quick comps. And I'm like, and I'm able to identify if they're, selling me the dream or if that's actually accurate and I'm misunderstanding the situation.
Yeah, it levels the playing field. So all these agents that we put on a pedestal sometimes in our own heads, thinking like, oh yeah, they know way more than me. Like, yeah, they know some local market stuff, but there's a lot of just BS you can pull right out of there. Right away that, oh my God, they're trying to pull the wool over my eyes, right? They're trying to get that commission.
I call it polishing a turd. No matter how much you polish a turd is still a turd.
It could be a shiny one, but it's still a turd.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Benson, thank you so much for coming on. I'm really, really grateful that you do this for everybody. You provide such a valuable tool to the community. Guys, if you got value out of this, please, Benson, do you want to drop like your IG or your YouTube in the chat, someplace that they can go continue to follow your content?
Yeah, let me just grab that for you guys real quick. Some of you are already finding me on these different places, but I actually launched a podcast recently, but going to give you some of my best links here that you guys can follow me at. Please follow me and keep an eye out for podcast episodes. I do training on my socials. If you're on TikTok, it's just Benson REI. On Instagram, it's Benson_REI. And then the last one is my YouTube. So you can just Google me if that link doesn't work for you on YouTube. And I've got lots of we've got a podcast. We're up to 30 episodes on the podcast now.
Bro, you're crushing those. Holy moly. That's a lot of time invested.
It is, but the coolest thing is the guests. Right? I've got so many people from all different walks of life, but all in kind of like the real estate entrepreneurship world. So really good stories, inspirational, stories of like, coming up and making mistakes and how they overcame adversity. Cool advice and tips and tricks. I just had a guy on recently who's an expert in public relations and tell us how, essentially social media is just a new arm of PR, right? Where we're leveraging this free resource to put ourselves out there. And essentially it's public relations. And then it's changing so much right now that now big brands are using like TikTok and they're paying influencers to make reels and stuff. And so it was fascinating.
It is. I definitely need PR.
Awesome, man. Well, yeah. Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be here and, share some insight and, kind of just talk shop. I love chopping it up with you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you as well, Benson. And thank you everybody who watched. Go follow Benson. He's got so much awesome content. Go check out some of those podcasts. I know you've been crushing it. So thank you. All right. Adios, guys.
You're welcome. Bye, everyone.